He was a criminal, but that's not where the story begins. Before the indictments, before the red notices, before intelligence agencies across continents quietly aligned against a threat they couldn't fully define, there was just a young analyst staring at numbers no one else bothered to question. His name doesn't matter yet. What matters is what he saw. In 2008, as global financial markets collapse and trillions vanish in a matter of months, governments rush to rebuild stability through technology. Emergency systems are deployed, cross-border liquidity platforms, automated bond settlements, real-time sovereign debt exchanges. The goal is speed, survival, control. But speed has a cost. The architecture is rushed, oversight is thin, and inside that complexity, something slips through. A delay, just 4.3 seconds between transaction authentication and final ledger reconciliation. 4 seconds doesn't sound like power, but in global finance, 4 seconds is an eternity. He isn't a hacker in the cinematic sense. No dark rooms, no encrypted laptops glowing in the night. He works inside the system. A mid-level contractor auditing compliance algorithms for a European clearinghouse. Salary, modest. Access level, moderate. But moderate access, combined with extraordinary pattern recognition, is enough. He begins carefully. A test, 11,000 euros. Redirected through 3 shell entities. Cyprus, Estonia, Singapore. Then returned before reconciliation completes. No alarms, no flags, no trace. He waits. 3 weeks later, 43,000 euros. Then 190,000 euros. Still nothing. What he discovers isn't just a timing flaw. It's a belief flaw. Regulators assume that no one inside the system would dare manipulate the invisible infrastructure holding global finance together. That assumption becomes his weapon. Within months, he builds something far more dangerous than a simple exploit. An algorithm, distributed, adaptive, silent. It operates within the 4.3-second window across multiple clearing networks, skimming fractional imbalances during high-frequency bond settlements. Not theft in the traditional sense. Extraction, fractions of cents, repeated millions of times. Invisible in isolation, unstoppable in aggregate. By the end of year 1, $38 million sits in accounts tied to identities that don't technically exist. No breached firewalls, no malware signatures, no forensic trail, only mathematics and a system that trusts itself too much. He doesn't celebrate. No luxury purchases, no sudden lifestyle changes. He stays exactly where he is. Invisible. And invisibility breeds confidence. Soon he escalates from micro-arbitrage to macro-influence. During sovereign debt auctions, moments when governments are most vulnerable, he begins injecting ghost bids, small distortions, fractions of a percent. But in trillion-dollar markets, fractions compound into consequences. In 2012 alone, 3 mid-sized economies unknowingly overpay more than $1 billion in long-term interest. No investigation points to a human actor, because there isn't one, at least not in any traditional sense. There is only pattern, only noise. Inside institutions like the IMF, analysts notice something: yield movements that don't behave randomly. A memo circulates. The phrase non-random arbitrage interference appears briefly, then disappears. Why? Because acknowledging vulnerability risks panic. And panic in global finance is far more dangerous than quiet loss. By year 3, his reach spans 19 jurisdictions. Total extracted capital, $4.7 billion. But money is no longer the objective. He reinvests strategically. Defense contractors, satellite intelligence firms, political lobbying groups advocating accelerated financial digitization. He isn't just exploiting the system anymore. He's influencing how it evolves. The more automated the world becomes, the deeper his reach extends. Then something breaks. A compliance officer in Toronto flags a transaction anomaly. $72,413, 5 entities. 6 seconds. She submits it for review. The review vanishes. 2 weeks later, she's reassigned. Coincidence or interference? Because a question begins to surface, one no agency wants to confront. Was he ever operating alone? By 2014, whispers reach the U.S. Treasury. A shadow pattern, untraceable, persistent. The FBI opens a preliminary inquiry. Classification restricted. Resources minimal. They don't yet understand. They are not hunting a criminal. They are hunting someone embedded inside the system itself, because while investigations begin, he adapts. He attends conferences on financial transparency, contributes to policy papers, testifies before committees on strengthening systemic resilience. Applause follows. Recognition builds. Credibility increases. And behind closed doors, he continues. During a currency stabilization crisis in South America, his algorithm quietly extracts another $600 million. No alarms, no headlines, only consequences. Currency instability, emergency, austerity, public unrest, cities destabilized by forces they will never see. At what point does a criminal become something else? The answer begins forming when a classified intelligence report introduces a phrase never used before: deliberate systemic distortion. The hunt changes. This is no longer financial crime. This is economic sabotage. And then he makes a mistake. A single transaction routed through a defense-linked fund in Virginia. Timestamp drift, 0.7 seconds. It's microscopic. It's everything. For the first time in 6 years, the system notices. The anomaly moves quietly. FinCEN to FBI, FBI to CIA, NSA, brought in for pattern correlation. A question emerges. Is someone manipulating sovereign-scale financial systems? No identity, no profile, just fragments. While agencies connect dots, he evolves again. The algorithm that once exploited delays now predicts central bank behavior. Policy drafts, satellite data, industrial output signals. He models decisions before they're announced. He stops reacting to markets. He starts positioning ahead of them. In a single year, $1.8 billion in gains. He acquires influence, ports, supply chains, critical infrastructure, because money can be tracked, influence cannot. Then patterns begin to align globally. Bond yields shift in synchronization with encrypted data bursts. Baltic servers reappear in network traces. Early infrastructure still in use. The FBI escalates the case. National security priority. They give him a name, Architect, because he doesn't break systems. He redesigns them while they're still running. Meanwhile, global pressure intensifies. Multiple economies destabilize within months. Protests erupt. Governments scramble. Inside his network, fractures appear. A data scientist in Singapore notices inconsistencies. Transactions executing before predictive cycles complete. Meaning, there is a deeper layer she doesn't control. She asks questions. Her access is revoked. Weeks later, she disappears from all associated records. The system is accelerating. By 2016, capital displacement exceeds $12 billion. Then, he crosses a line. A U.S. Treasury auction. Yield distortion. 0.19%. 19 basis points. To individuals, nothing. To a $14 trillion market. Catastrophic. Projected cost, $47 billion. This time, systems react instantly. Detection algorithms begin adapting to his mathematical signature. For the first time, he encounters resistance designed specifically for him. He adjusts, adds randomness, masks patterns, but complexity leaves trace. Investigators follow the traces. Lobbying funds, policy shifts, advisory networks. Everything converges on a financial council in Brussels. And there he is, not hidden, not fleeing, advising, photographed beside central bankers, quoted in reform panels, a recognized authority. The task force hesitates. Arresting him could destabilize markets. Watching him risks losing control. So they wait. Then, breakthrough. A financial custodian, pressured by regulators, agrees to cooperate. In exchange for immunity, he provides access. For the first time, investigators see the structure. Layered entities, recursive ownership chains, sovereign exposure, hidden within manipulated instruments. Total capital influenced, $23 billion. A number that never becomes public, because acknowledging it would mean admitting systemic failure. But the informant provides something more. A scheduled transaction, massive, coordinated, timed with a global summit. If executed, it could trigger cascading currency collapses. This is no longer crime. This is economic warfare. World leaders are briefed. Decision window 72 hours, public intervention risks, panic, silent containment risks, failure. Then, something unexpected happens. He pauses. The transaction remains queued, unexecuted. Why? Is he aware? Or is this leverage? A private jet leaves Brussels. Destination, Reykjavik, neutral ground, strategic positioning. He isn't escaping, he's negotiating. A message arrives. I can unwind it or execute it. No threats, no demands, just leverage. A covert delegation arrives. Treasury, CIA, legal advisors, no press, no warrants. Inside a secure room, they meet. He doesn't deny anything. He explains everything, calmly, precisely, not as crime, but as demonstration. Proof of systemic fragility. Then he makes an offer. He will dismantle the transaction, reveal vulnerabilities, provide predictive systems. In return, immunity, a classified advisory role, total erasure. It sounds impossible, but it is also logical because prosecuting him would expose a decade of undetected systemic failure, and markets don't survive that kind of truth. After 19 hours, an agreement forms. He executes the kill command. $9.6 billion neutralized. Markets remain stable. Officially, nothing happens. Unofficially, everything changes. The case disappears. Task forces dissolve, records fragment, and he vanishes. Not into hiding, into structure. In the years that follow, global financial systems evolve rapidly. AI replaces legacy verification, detection systems improve, transparency increases. On the surface, public explanation, modernization, unpublicized catalyst, him. He becomes a ghost, never charged, never seen, yet his influence shapes global financial architecture. So was this justice or compromise? Because the vulnerability was never removed. It was absorbed. Governments didn't defeat him. They integrated him. Years later, a young analyst flags a discrepancy in a digital currency system. 4 seconds. The same window, the same flaw. But now, it runs through sovereign infrastructure. The system is stronger, but also more centralized, more powerful, more capable of silent influence. His story never becomes public. No trial, no confession, no closure, only a quiet agreement. That reshaped global finance from the shadows, because the world believes the threat was eliminated. What it doesn't realize is that the hunt didn't end in capture. It ended in partnership.